an update on the COVID-19 disaster in India with my guest, Bert Burger. He is economist and resident expert on India with Atradius. Hello, Bert.
Hello, Bob. Good afternoon.
And thank you very much for spending time with me here to talk about this horrifying situation in India. What is the situation regarding the virus in India as it stands right now?
Well, in fact, the situation still is bad. India has become the third country in the world after the United States and Brazil to report more than 300,000 official deaths. And like other Asian countries, India led the way in controlling COVID-19 last year, but this year it has struggled to vaccinate. And that is the big problem in India now. The strange thing is that India has a fast vaccine manufacturing capacity, but only 14% of the people got an injection yet. In the United States and Britain, that percentage is above 85%. In European countries, it is about 50 or 60%. India is lagging the United States and Europe with vaccinations.
And why is that? Why is that the case, though? I mean, is it because the citizens are unwilling to be vaccinated, or it's difficult to get the vaccination to them? What is the reason for that?
Yeah, mainly the last cause you mentioned. There was the success in containing the COVID-19 pandemic itself led to less pressure for vaccination, and it was in fact the law of the inhibitory elite that played a role. The positive thing now is that the number of infections is declining. At May 6th, it peaked at a bit more than 400,000 new cases at that day. And yesterday there were only 200,000 new cases. It's still a huge number,
yeah,
but
only 200,000. But I guess relative to what it was before, we have to take that as good news.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the distribution system is starting to succeed? That they are starting to get out to the population of India? I mean, why is it getting better?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. The vaccination is rising. It's even so that authorities in New Delhi, the capital of the country, have said that they will start relaxing the strict coronavirus lockdown next week if the new cases continue to drop.
Mm-hmm. Has India mandated, as other countries have during the pandemic at its worst, has it mandated social distancing, business closures, closed schools, factories, and the like, or has it continued to some extent with life as usual?
No, there were indeed lockdowns, but at a state level, not at a national level.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the reasons why the economy has held up relatively well. The government is not trying to shut the business down this time. And as said, there are local lockdowns, not a nationwide lockdown. So it is retail and wholesale trades that feels the impact in this second wave more than the manufacturing industry or the agricultural sector. Shopping malls, travel and tourism, also the informal sector bear the brunt of the second wave now. And that is different from last year when the first wave took a huge toll on the economy.
So it's got to have some kind of pretty serious economic implications, has it not? Has India's economy shrunk, or is growth slow, or what is happening at a national level economically?
Yeah, well, in fact, growth is still there, but it's coming from a very low base last year. And we still think that real GDP will grow about 10% compared to last year. That's a huge and
that is
high growth
that's a
rate.
huge number, 10%.
Yeah.
In the midst of this, I that is amazing. I mean,
yes, it's amazing at first sight, but the GDP level is compared to one year before. And
Mm.
last year we had that very deep recession because of the first COVID-19 wave. So in fact, this is just going to the level before COVID-19 broke out. So it's not. At first sight, it's a good growth rate, but it is not so good as it seems to be.
So going forward, what's it going to take to address this situation successfully? What must India be doing now?
Yeah, vaccinations.
Mm.
Like here in Europe and in your country, the United States, vaccinations are the way out of this crisis. The pace of vaccinations is rising rapidly now, and as I said before, the number of new infections is also declining. So there is hope that the impact of the second wave will be contained, and that is the reason also why we expect a further recovery of the economy. Um, but yeah, well, it's still an unclear situation, and it's just hoping for that the number of infections will decline further.
But you say that stores and malls and the like are closed or limited access, at least even now, if not factories, but you say the retail side is being seriously affected still, right?
Yes, and that is the reason why we think that the retail sector and also wholesale trades are feeling the most of the impact of the
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19 wave. And the bigger manufacturing industry and also the agricultural sector are not hit so much as during the first wave. And that makes a huge difference with last year. And that is also the reason why, despite this huge number of people dying and suffering from this COVID-19 second wave, the economy is not feeling that so much as last year.
So if manufacturing is continuing to some degree, but retail is being shut down or locked down to some degree at the same time, where are those manufactured goods going? Are they selling in the midst of a slump in retail?
Yes, well, in fact, exports are there.
Mm-hmm.
There is a kind of recovery in the United States and in Europe. Also, the Chinese economy is doing quite well. Is starting a recovery, and also in other parts of Asia, the economy is doing quite well. So exports is one outlet for the production of the manufacturing industry,
Mm-hmm.
but also in the country itself. It is not so that the whole economy has stopped because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And as you say, India has a strong manufacturing base for the vaccine to be made domestically, does it not? It can produce the
Yes,
vaccine within its own borders pretty effectively. And I assume that's what's happening right now.
yes, it was exporting a lot of vaccines to neighboring countries,
Mm-hmm.
but the government has decided to stop that and to prioritize the own population. So exports of vaccines to Bangladesh, Nepal, and also other countries has stopped, and the government is keeping the vaccines in India itself,
Uh-huh. But
understandably.
I had heard that India's ability to manufacture the vaccine was being hampered for a while by the refusal of the United States to export certain raw materials that are necessary to that manufacturing process. And then only recently did the Biden administration agree to loosen those controls and let India have access to some of these raw materials. Is that the case? And what's going on there? And do they now have access to what they need in terms of imported raw materials to create the vaccine at home?
Yes, there have been shortages, and that was indeed, yeah, uh, um, a reason for less vaccine production in India. But if I'm well, and I'm not informed in depth for that, um, these problems have been solved to a certain extent. Yeah.
Mhm. So lessons to be learned from the situation in India in terms of not just for India, but for any country looking to protect itself when the next big pandemic comes along. Do you think there are some lessons that we can all draw from this experience?
Yes, yes. One important lesson is that you have to be prepared for black swans. You have to be prepared for the unexpected developments. And after the first wave, the preparations to cope with the second one did not start early enough in
Mhm.
India, but also, in fact, in some other countries. And the second lesson is that supply chains may not be too complex and that you have to spread the risks resulting from disruptions. Avoid being dependent on just one supplier or at the national level, being reliant on one specific country. And of course, it's always good to insure yourself for credit risk, the risk of not being paid by your customer. Credit risk insurance is a very useful tool in case
Mm.
of troubles like this pandemic has been causing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's all hope that the situation continues to improve there. But in the meantime, Bert Burger of Atradius, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us about the situation in India and how that might be developing going forward. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.